September 11, 2001 started as an ordinary Tuesday morning in New York City. People were commuting to work, students were heading to school, and the city that never sleeps was beginning another busy day. By the end of that morning, nearly 3,000 people would lose their lives, and the world would be changed forever. September 11th was not just an attack on buildings, it was an attack on lives, on freedom, and on history. This is the story of September 11th, a day of tragedy, heroism, and resilience. It's a day that shaped the world you live in today, and it's important that we remember not just what happened, but who we lost, and how humanity responded in the face of unimaginable horror. The World Trade Center, completed in the 1970s, was more than a pair of skyscrapers. It was a symbol of American prosperity and global business, attracting over 50,000 workers and 200,000 visitors every day. Standing at 110 stories each, the Twin Towers defined New York's skyline. But for terrorist group Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden, the towers represented something else, a symbol of American power. The 9/11 attacks were not their first attempt. In 1993, a truck bomb exploded beneath the North Tower, killing 6 people and injuring over 1,000. Though the tower stood, the attackers vowed to strike again.
On the sidewalk.
Come down probably from someplace higher up.
On the morning of September 11, 2001, the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center stood tall in Lower Manhattan. At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11, which had been hijacked shortly after takeoff from Boston, crashed into the North Tower between the 93rd and 99th floors. The impact was devastating. Jet fuel ignited, causing massive fires that would burn at temperatures exceeding 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. At first, many people thought it might have been a terrible accident, perhaps a small plane had lost its way. News cameras turned toward the towers. People on the streets stopped and looked up. In offices around the city, workers gathered around televisions. But 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., any hope that this was an accident was shattered. United Airlines Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower between the 77th and 85th floors. The world watched in horror as the second plane hit.
We're seeing
Apparently
plane.
that was another plane. We have a witness who we just spoke to a moment ago. We're hearing from Carl Tendler, who was at the Village Apartments in Washington Square. We're trying to bring him on the air.
All right,
that was a
Carl?
second plane that just blew?
Number 1.
It's been another one, Carl.
Yes, he hit in building number 1.
The other building.
Yes, he flew right into it.
This was no accident. America was under attack. But the attacks didn't stop in New York. This was a coordinated assault on multiple fronts.
That's the other building. That's terrorists. Other building? That's terrorists, bro. That's fucking terrorists.
Holy shit! Oh my God.
That's terrorists, bro.
They just shut out. Did you get that?
I zoomed out on it. We gotta get the fuck out of here? We have to get out of here. Heck, this is a terrorist attack. Heck, that was another plane.
At 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense in Arlington, Virginia. The impact killed 184 people and caused a massive fire that burned for days. Meanwhile, a fourth hijacked plane, United Airlines Flight 93, was in the air. The passengers and crew, learning about the other attacks through phone calls, realized their plane was also meant to be a weapon. In an act of incredible courage, they fought back against the hijackers. At 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Everyone on board died, but their bravery likely saved hundreds of lives. The plane is believed to have been headed for either the White House or the U.S. Capitol building. In total, 19 terrorists hijacked 4 commercial airplanes that morning. They were members of Al-Qaeda, a terrorist organization led by Osama bin Laden. Their goal was to cause maximum destruction and terror, and tragically, they succeeded in taking nearly 3,000 innocent lives. Back in New York, the situation was becoming more desperate by the minute. Thousands of people were trapped in the towers above the impact zones. The fires were intense, and smoke filled the stairwells. First responders rushed to the scene with incredible bravery. Firefighters ran up the stairs as others ran down. Police officers helped coordinate evacuations. Emergency medical technicians set up triage areas. These heroes knew the danger they faced, but they ran toward it anyway. At 9:59 a.m., something unthinkable happened. The South Tower, which had been hit second, collapsed. In just 10 seconds, 110 stories of steel and concrete fell to the ground. A massive cloud of dust and debris rolled through the streets of Lower Manhattan like a gray wave, engulfing everything in its path. People ran for their lives. The dust was so thick that day turned to night in an instant. Many survivors described not being able to see their own hands in front of their faces.
You know how many people are dead? Do you know how many people are dead? Do you know how many people are dead?
At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower also collapsed. In total, the towers stood for 102 minutes and 56 minutes respectively after being hit.
Unbelievable. Oh my God.
When they fell, they took with them 2,753 people in New York, including 343 firefighters, 71 law enforcement officers, and hundreds of first responders. Behind every number is a person, a life, a story. The victims of September 11th came from over 90 countries. They were office workers and janitors, CEOs and food service workers, stockbrokers and security guards. They were parents and children, brothers and sisters, friends and neighbors. There was Wells Crowther, the 24-year-old equities trader who saved at least 12 people by guiding them to safety before the South Tower collapsed. Survivors remembered him by his red bandana, which he used to cover his face from the smoke. There was Rick Rescorla, the head of security for Morgan Stanley, who helped evacuate nearly 2,700 employees. He was last seen heading back into the South Tower to look for stragglers. His body was never found. There was Father Michael Judge, a Franciscan friar and FDNY chaplain, who died while giving last rites to a fallen firefighter. He was officially recorded as victim number 1. And there were thousands more, each with their own dreams, their own families, their own futures that were stolen that day. We remember them not as statistics, but as individuals who mattered, who were loved, and who are deeply missed. September 11th showed humanity at its worst, but it also revealed humanity at its best. The passengers of Flight 93, who stormed the cockpit knowing they might not survive, but determined to save others. "Let's roll," were the famous last words of Todd Beamer, one of the passengers who fought back. The first responders who climbed the stairs of the burning towers, many of them never to return. Studies have shown that their actions likely saved between 10,000 and 25,000 lives that day. The ordinary people who became heroes, like the boat captains who spontaneously organized the largest maritime evacuation in history, rescuing nearly 500,000 people from Lower Manhattan in just 9 hours. This was larger than the evacuation of Dunkirk in World War II. There were the volunteers who worked at Ground Zero for months, searching for survivors and then for remains. There were the blood donors who lined up around city blocks. There were the people who opened their homes to strangers who couldn't get home because all air travel was grounded. In the darkest of times, these acts of courage and compassion showed what we are capable of when we come together. For the first time in history, the Federal Aviation Administration grounded all aircraft in U.S. airspace. Over 4,500 flights were diverted to Canada, where communities welcomed stranded passengers with open arms. New York City became a war zone without a war. The site where the towers once stood, soon to be known as Ground Zero, was a 16-acre pile of burning rubble. Fires would burn for 99 days. The air was thick with toxic dust containing asbestos, lead, and countless other hazardous materials. President George Walker Bush, who was visiting an elementary school in Florida when the attacks occurred, addressed the nation that evening from the White House. The country was in shock, in mourning, and searching for answers. In the days that followed, missing person posters covered every surface in New York City. Families desperately searched hospitals, hoping their loved ones had survived. The city that never sleeps couldn't sleep, not because of excitement or opportunity, but because of grief and trauma. Churches, synagogues, and mosques held vigils. Candlelight memorials appeared on street corners. The nation united in mourning, and for a brief moment, differences faded away. The effects of September 11th extended far beyond that terrible day. In the weeks and months that followed, America went to war. The U.S. military launched operations in Afghanistan to dismantle al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban government that had harbored them. This conflict would become America's longest war, lasting 20 years. Security changed dramatically. Air travel would never be the same. The Transportation Security Administration was created. New security measures became part of daily life, from airport screenings to security checkpoints at public buildings. The health consequences continue to this day. Thousands of first responders and survivors suffer from cancers, respiratory diseases, and other illnesses caused by exposure to toxic dust at Ground Zero. These illnesses have claimed hundreds of lives in the years since victims of 9/11 who survived the day but not its aftermath. The psychological impact cannot be measured. Thousands suffer from PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Entire generations grew up in the shadow of these events. The world of post-9/11 is the only world many of you have ever known, one marked by heightened security, ongoing conflicts, and change perspectives on safety and vulnerability. The attacks also unfortunately led to a rise in discrimination and hate crimes against Muslim Americans, Arab Americans, and people perceived to be Middle Eastern. This hatred and prejudice contradicted American values and hurt innocent people who had nothing to do with the attacks. Today, the National September 11th Memorial and Museum stands where the Twin Towers once reached toward the sky. Two enormous reflecting pools mark the footprints of the towers. The names of every person who died not just on 9/11, but also in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, are inscribed in bronze around the pools. At the center of the memorial stands the survivor tree, a calorie pear tree that was discovered in the rubble, badly damaged but still alive. It was nursed back to health and replanted at the memorial in 2010. Today it stands over 30 feet tall, a living symbol of resilience and rebirth. Every year on September 11th, ceremonies are held to remember those who were lost. Names are read aloud. Moments of silence mark the times of the attacks and when the towers fell. Families gather to remember their loved ones. The phrase, "never forget," became a rallying cry, but what exactly should we never forget? We must never forget the victims, the innocent people who went to work that day and never came home. We must never forget the heroes, the first responders who gave their lives trying to save others, and the ordinary citizens who performed extraordinary acts of courage. We must never forget the resilience of the human spirit, how communities came together, how people helped strangers, how humanity showed compassion in the face of cruelty. And we must never forget the lessons that hatred and extremism lead only to suffering, that courage can be found in the most unexpected places, and that even in our darkest moments, we have the capacity for incredible kindness and bravery. September 11th, 2001 was a day that changed everything. It changed national policies, international relations, and the daily lives of millions of people. But more than anything, it changed how we see the world and our place in it. The events of that day remind us that life is precious and unpredictable. They challenge us to be better, more compassionate, more courageous, more united. Today, One World Trade Center stands where the Twin Towers once stood, rising 1,776 feet into the sky, a number chosen deliberately to honor the year of American independence. It's a testament to resilience, to rebuilding, and to the refusal to let terror win. As we remember September 11th, we honor not just the memory of what was lost, but the strength of what endures, the human capacity for hope, for healing, and for coming together in the face of tragedy.